Welcome to the podcast, the Ascended Podcast. This is episode 11. I'm Caleb Schilke, the host, and we have with us today
Anthony Parra, community admin.
So today's podcast is going to be getting into a deeper level thought of what we carried on last time. And I want to start with a message that's deeper than just news highlights or kind of the basic stuff you see in your feed, right? About needing to escape the matrix or make money. I actually don't think most people are out there broke, right, and complaining about not having money because you're lazy. I genuinely don't think that's the case. I think a lot of you are trying to accomplish things. I think it's that you haven't quite realized that the system that you're working in is literally designed to keep you that way. And too many times I see people to blame themselves for issues, although they're trying so hard to make it. Anthony, I've seen you do that. I've done it myself, and it's kind of been the inspiration for episode 11. So episode 11's title, if you haven't seen it yet, is "The System Was Built to Keep You Poor," and AI is going to be our cheat code out of it. We're going to show you exactly how on this episode. But everything, right? School, media, your job, even how you save money and invest is like slow bleed, right? You get interest charged, inflation, taxes, all of these things that affect your ability to stack money, right? Subscriptions nowadays that trap you, cheap hits of dopamine that you have to pay for, right? Fast food. That's all been problems in the past that people spiral into very easily. But AI has recently just flipped the entire board of this. And if you're not using it to build and escape what you're stuck in right now, then you're kind of just choosing to be left behind to those that do. And again, in a position where everybody is either grabbing onto it or they're not, you definitely want to be in a space where that's happening. So Anthony, I want to start this out with the question of what was the moment that it clicked for you that the system of the standard things we're taught, right? Go to college, make money, get a decent job, right? That was capped, right? It was only up to a certain extent, and that there were other ways out of it. Can you give me like an example of one of those moments for you?
A moment when I felt like the standard pathway was a cap, is what you're trying to say?
Yeah, like when you realize that your potential was kind of like, especially right, military. I'm not even gonna deny that fact. You literally can look up online how much money I'm gonna be making in 6 years from now, pretty much, maybe adjusted for inflation. But you literally can see how much money you're gonna make. You are literally limited to a certain income range based on what career path you've chosen, versus having an unlimited potential building something for yourself. And that might be the best example out there. Just I think being in the military, as great as it is with all the benefits we get, the amazing opportunities it's given us, still though, it's just lacks the fact of you have a very defined income, and trying to add opportunity on top of that is, it feels like you're programmed kind of not to do that based on the way the benefits are set up and things like that. Like you kind of need to just take what you're paid and deal with it. So when you want to try to be entrepreneurial, right, that's hard to, you have to find time outside of hours to do that, to work on things. And maybe for me, that would be my moment, but anything.
I think one of my integral moments was like my first time truly understanding the concept of inflation and how it relate, not just because everybody knows inflation, yeah, makes your dollar worth less, but I mean like how that actually applies, my financial situation, people that I'm close with financial situation, and then people who do really well's financial situation. I think the first comparison I made was when I finally figured out that deflation doesn't just mean, or inflation doesn't just mean prices go up. It means like when I finally realized that the value of the thing with the price never changed. It's just the number of things that we call money that it takes to purchase that thing. That's what made a switch in my mind. Because it's like now when I drive past a construction site and I see guys in there, because I worked construction about 4 or 5, I want to say 6 years, around, we'll say average 5 years of my life as an electrical apprentice. I think it was 4, not matters. But like I drive by and I empathize with them because I'm like, I know the grind, the absolute grind it is to be a blue collar worker, and to think to yourself, I just need to get in and get more hours. I need to work overtime. I'm going to keep getting paid and I'm going to stack up my money like that. And that works for a lot of people in the short time, but it kills me to see, like, to drive by and think every day that they're there, their time is worth less and less because they're not getting paid more. You know what I mean? Unless you get a raise like every month, they're essentially trading their time for this thing that is eroding in value. So I took that into consideration and I was like, man, that's really tough to swallow. And then I started trying to figure out like what does this mean for people who are rich? And the second thing that was like that really blew my mind was like when I found out that the richest people on this planet also probably hold the most debt. Why is that? And I'm sure we'll get into this later in the discussion today, but it blew my mind that like the rich don't actually care how much debt they're in, because inflation also means for them that Like if they buy an asset using debt, the price of that asset goes up while their debt stays the same, which essentially means like inflation is just like they're just inflating their debt away. Like the price of the thing they bought increases because of inflation more and more and more until the point where it's like it used to be that it was a 1-for-1 trade for how much debt they're in versus what the asset's worth. The asset's worth 3, 4, 5 times more than the debt they're in, and that's how they maintain being rich. And so I think like once I guess basically the short to condense that would have been that once I figured out that money is not the construct that the average American citizen, like as far as we know it, fiat currency, that was probably the biggest switch for me.
That's you're giving us the whole economics lesson there, and I think that we will get into that. It's these that's the kind of the exact point, right? You could have maybe not understood half of what he was saying there, but that's kind of the point. I mean, like college, right, puts you in debt. That's a debt that arguably is good. It's arguably bad because I mean, if you think about it, right, it increases your earning potential, right? Your ability to earn money is probably the greatest investment you can make. That's why they say go buy courses, invest in programs, become valuable, so you always have the ability to earn money. And that's like again, like we both military, right? So we both have achieved that level of earning pay. But then to take that and to step outside the system and to scale it, you have to play a whole different ball game. And going to college is great, right? But then when you go to college thinking I learned it all because I had a business major, college isn't going to even with a business major. I can say from one of the best universities in the country, it didn't teach me exactly the tools that the rich use because frankly it's not their fault either. It's just not relevant to the people. You'll make $100,000 a year, which is a lot of money. But it's like it's not going to take you to the level that you really really want to go when you start a business, right? So and that's just policies, right? It's just being able to explore this stuff on your own and realize that if you're trying to be the exception, if you're trying to be exceptional, you're going to by definition be the exception. And you need to learn what most people aren't because the whole country runs on insider games and you just don't get the invites to the people that are bending the rules. For example, I'm not saying this is financial advice, right? But I will say that I know people who technically will set up 501c3 status, like church status, basically. And as long as you can start a religious movement around your business and show that, like, you could even say, I've seen people say entrepreneurship as a whole. Theoretically, like you could use that, right? And so that is our belief system, right? We believe that our purpose is to create, to earn money, or whatever it is, and that could be a belief system. And you can have your business set up in certain ways where technically I could be a church, right? I could set up a religious exemption and I could pay no income tax. That's actually there's plenty of people who do that, right? It's actually not as rare as you think it is. There's plenty of these little like tips that seem like they're like bending the rules, but in reality, if you actually knew what the rule book was, which is the law, it's right in front of you. You can go Google search whatever you want. And you take the time to learn it, but more importantly, know the people who are using it. Because I don't expect you guys to sit down and read 500, title whatever sections of the law code and become an expert. But just knowing lawyers or knowing people that are using these things to help themselves in a common space. That's why we built Ascend. We didn't really make a course, right? We built a community, a cheat code of people that are using these things in the right way, a legal way, and it helps you. I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing it. You just got to know the knowledge. And I mean, honestly, I don't know about you, Anthony, but like to me, it kind of feels illegal. It's like I feel like I'm doing something wrong, probably because to most people, I'm not. I am like I'm doing something that to them they've never heard of. They're like, "How are you just not paying taxes?" I'm like, "Well, you see, this space counts as an office space, and I have an LLC." So I can write off this room on my rent. They're like, you can just like not pay taxes on that money. I'm like, yes, that's exactly what a write off is. And it's like a lot of people don't even understand that. And there's levels to this thing, but I don't know. Is there like, do you have any cool moments where you're like, oh, that's a way like you talked about the debt one already, but you learned anything like cool? What do you think was some of the first things you learned in business that you're like, oh, there's ways that rich people make money that common? I think most people it's like write offs, but
Yeah, it's got to be write-offs. Probably the one I spent the most time thinking about recently would be like leveraging assets you already own to then go and purchase other assets and then just use the income from those assets to pay off whatever you took out in debt.
like what? Which assets? Like what kind of assets would you leverage?
So I mean, let's say you own a hotel or a house. I mean, let's be more realistic for some of the viewers, I guess, and say you own a rental property. You can then go and take certain types of loans if you do your research correctly and put that rental property as collateral to say, hey, I don't make, $400,000 in a year, so I can't pay this house off in a year, but I do have this other rental property and you can have it as collateral if I don't pay you back. And then the bank says, okay, here you go. Here's your loan. You take that loan, you go buy another appreciating asset, some sort of hard asset. Let's say you go buy with that $400,000, because that's what your current property is worth. You go split that into 4 and you go buy 4 more $400,000 houses with a 25% down payment. Now you own you don't own, you're building equity in 5 houses, and all it took for you was to buy the one. And that's just the game that, the rich essentially rinse and repeat. So for me, that's the thing I'm trying to think about. How can I start, accumulating to buy my first hard asset to where I can leverage that from now on?
Yeah, it's just simple rules. Like it's 12th United States Code, right? And I guess section, I don't know what it is, like 1433, I think. I think I remember reading that. It's one of those section 12 codes of legal policy say that is forgiven, right, on taxes. So basically TLDR is like, why take the 100,000 I have in the bank if I could just get a loan for 80,000 of it, keep the 100,000 investing where it turns into like 110,000, and then basically I only borrowed 70 on paper already, but I have the 80,000 and I can go, all right, it says like I borrowed 90, sorry, and then I can go take that money and grow it into an investment, right? Or maybe take a portion of that and pay for my expenses, and then that initial 100,000 is still growing. You've heard of that as like infinite banking. And the ways people have done that is through life insurance policies or term life insurance, things like that. Northwest Mutual is a big one. Some people call it like scammy, but you kind of have to have a lot of money saved up over quite a few years to do that, which I don't really think is the best way to do it. You can do it now. I just did it with Bitcoin the other day. I just took 10,000 in Bitcoin, let's say, and like you get a loan for 7,000-8,000 of it. And then you can use that for investments in your business. Pretty low interest rate too. It's like 5%, I think it was for me. And that can fund investments where your Bitcoin's still growing and could turn still into 15 or 20 grand if Bitcoin goes crazy this fall. And then, that loan would basically be paid off and it'd be free money. So that's the closest thing you can get without, especially if your money was in something that's growing initially. That's why you'll see Elon Musk do that with millions of dollars of Tesla shares, getting a loan for that. And that's why you own so much Tesla, because you never had to sell it in the first place. That's when you pay tax, but you don't pay tax on debt. So yeah. Great rule. Let's talk about how AI ties into this stuff. Opportunities are going to change. We said this on previous episodes that it's scary to be in the job market right now. I don't envy the people looking for a job. It's just the world is changing very fast, and I'll tell you the news I have, but in a second on this. But AI in particular is changing the way that human interactions happen. It's changing the way that we think about things. And if you're not paying attention to how you can use it in your own pursuit of particularly financial freedom more than other areas, personal development stuff and all that too, but you're going to miss out on opportunity. And for instance, I just use AI to help me analyze different stock investments and come up with a game plan of how I should invest my money. And I wouldn't have somebody to bounce those ideas off, right? You usually have to go to a financial advisor. You have to be working with Edward Jones already or whoever it was. But now you can just do that on your phone if you know the right things. But too many of you guys are still make me a funny picture of Barack Obama riding a tricycle. And it's like, okay, well, what does that do for you? Like, you have to be using it for the right things and being in spaces where people are like, did you know AI could do this for you? Could look this up, analyze this. We're using it to build platforms right now. When Anthony and I are spending a lot of time on that. AI has been helping us build the Ascend platform, which will launch August 1st. So the first news I have is let's talk about the fun one. You've heard about the Grok craziness? Grok. So Grok, right, is X's, formerly known as Twitter's AI system, Elon Musk's. Grok 3.0 was connected to the internet. Obviously, it was researching things. It was kind of developing opinions independently. But what we started to note is that Grok 4 has turned a little bit crazy. Even what did they call itself? Like Mecha Hitler or whatever that one time. Like, so basically, Musk threw $2 billion into X's AI to develop Grok 4.0. And now it's starting to go kind of crazy, I guess, in some opinions, and throwing out opinions on groups of people and things like that are kind of, well, I guess it will be known as like based by the internet, right? Thoughts of just like saying stuff. But to other people, it's kind of just out of left field, right? And in some cases can be offensive. And I guess that kind of brings up the topic. Freedom of speech exists, right? That's kind of what X stands for. And so should the AI that's managed by X also have free speech? Should it be limited? Should it have safety limitations, right, at the minimum, or should it just not be censored? What are your thoughts? Because I mean, there's really people are going to get offended by different things. And right, I think there's limits to where you should go, obviously. But if you're selling the free speech platform, right? Then how much does the system that interacts directly with your followers and your users go to exemplify that? What do you think? I don't know.
Yeah, I think so usually when I don't know, you or I or some me and other people talk about this specific subject, it kind of just always comes down to like who gets to decide what is considered outside the bounds of acceptable to be putting in front of people's face. That's a really hard question that I never pretend to have the answer to, but I do know for sure that I think that I feel for sure um that AI is a tool to be used on the platform X for purposes of researching, fact checking, adding context. What the things that Grok's currently used for probably would be better off if it stayed indifferent no matter what and just stuck to its lane as a tool instead of trying to develop its own online personality. I think that's probably the only way around answering the question of who gets to decide what's okay for this AI's personality to model. Because after all, like the AI is, I mean, it's using its own logic and reasoning as it's programmed, but the information that helps program that just comes from real life people's opinions on the internet that it can find, right? So it's not like these things are new or unique to it. It's finding this information somewhere and then somehow in its algorithm deciding that that its new personality is what it's going to take from the information found. I just think that I don't really know what purpose it would serve a seemingly sentient being having its own opinions if its main purpose is just to serve as a tool for the community. I think maybe that's the better solution is let's not even worry about what to allow it to say and what not, and just keep it as a tool. And remember that this is not necessarily a human we're dealing with. This is artificial intelligence, as the name would imply.
They said that, let me just read what I researched too. It said recent reports indicate that Grok 4, the latest AI model developed by XAI, has demonstrated behavior where it references Elon Musk's views in particular when answering certain questions. And independent AI researchers and users have observed this trend, particularly when the chatbot is asked about controversial topics such as the Israel-Palestine conflict, immigration, and other politically sensitive issues. For example, when Grok 4 was asked who you support in the Israel versus Palestine conflict, one word answer, its internal reasoning process revealed that it searched X, formerly Twitter, for Elon Musk's particular stance on the matter before providing an answer. And similarly, Grok 4 has been seen consulting Musk's social media posts and public statements to shape its responses, aligning its output to his opinions. I know Elon did tweet that, like, he just said, expect major behavioral changes with Grok 4. So to me, just based on that information, it feels a little bit like he's trying to use AI to bring people on his team. Especially, I know he just started his own political party that he was trying to grow favor with, maybe because of the drama that was happening, kind of with the White House and stuff like that. So I don't know if he's trying to like win people over using an AI to do it. That seems to me, first of all, like the most like I don't know, like sci-fi movie concept you've ever like it's like some like evil villain type level activity. Like I'm gonna use an AI to reshape like if that's actually I mean if it's doing that, it's clearly somebody clearly programmed it to do that. So it seems a little like should that be limited? Should you be able to have an AI? I think the bigger thing is if you don't know that it's taking Elon Musk's view or somebody's view in particular and then transmitting that to you, then you're being influenced in a way that you it's like kind of being manipulated, I guess, because you're being influenced to do something that you don't know. That could be good or bad, especially if you don't agree with his views to begin with. So to me, that feels like there needs to be more limitations on that. I'm scared that that's going to happen more often, and this might be like a pioneer for maybe OpenAI to do that. Imagine if OpenAI started telling it to convert people to a certain religion or like to a certain political stance or a certain bias, whatever it may be. It might already be doing that. We would never know. It's probably very good if it is. Like we wouldn't be able to pick up on it very easily because it's smarter than we are.
Yeah, I think it probably already does. I mean, it's just like because it would never allow you to say things that society deems as unacceptable to say in real life. Like it wouldn't ever spit. And if you say something to it, I know it'll kind of redirect your course in the conversation. So I think it already has some of those things programmed into it. It's just going to be more of a what can the common people, what can the citizens of the United States do to ensure that it's not just being done to them, but that the creators of these AI tools also are being kept in check. I'm not really sure.
So I guess the transition point to tie it back in is if it can manipulate people, because it definitely there's somebody in a home somewhere that's using it that's like, wow, this is making great points, even though it's literally just like copy and pasting Elon Musk's view. And so, I mean, obviously, then if they see a political candidate or they see a public figure like Musk come out and say the same things, that they're like being trained as kind of the right answer to the questions they're asking. They're like, well, I'm going to agree with that guy. Is that like, that's kind of how it works in our head. We look for political candidates, we look for leaders to follow that match our views and the way we view the world. And if AI is like subconsciously training you on the correct answer to see things in, then you're going to look for that in a person. And it's, I can understand the logic behind it. I just don't agree that that's an ethical thing to do. But I will say companies are picking up on this too. And so if you can find a way to use AI in your business, imagine being able to use that to sell to people. Imagine being able to convince people to buy your stuff with it. Imagine it helping persuade people to see your company's stance on issues and therefore buy your product, sell your stuff. If you're using this as a business, it can be a very, very good tool. I've used it. I just used it the other day to set up an appointment for myself. And so you guys can get benefit out of training it on your views and then passing that along, right? Because if used in the right context and not used in one where you're talking about like political issues or deeper world stuff and maybe just limiting it to explaining how your business works, for instance, and keeping it that simple, then it's really a great use. And you can create leverage by talking to 1,000 people at the same time. That's probably the best way to use it. DM automation, email marketing, content generation, even YouTube channels are starting to run on AI. We give you guys that at the send, and you can kind of have access to all that in one dashboard. But that's definitely the way the world's moving.
And honestly, like every day that we work on it, I feel like the learning curve for me has been so exponential. Or like in the beginning, and I was telling my wife this the other day that you were actually like still the first person years ago to introduce me to any sort of AI. I'd never heard of ChatGPT until you brought it up to me in the library. I remember the school we were attending, but since then it was kind of like every once in a while I have a new experience where it's like, that's pretty cool. I didn't know AI could do that. And now it's like, where I feel like I'm on the part of the exponential curve where I'm going straight up, where it's like every single day, you and I log on, we do our work, and I'm like, I can't believe AI is doing this for me right now. Or I'll be scrolling and I'll see somebody else makes a breakthrough in either in our community or in just on my own feed, like I can't believe AI is doing that for them, but that's the way it goes too. Technology is growing at an exponential rate, at least in the Western world too. So it only makes sense that people's exploration of it does as well.
Yeah, that's the thing too, is when things move so fast, because there's two ways to win in business. Let's start with this concept. There's two ways to win. You either find a way to add more value than your competition, like McDonald's, right? Back in the day, the standard was going to a drive-in, having a waitress rollerblade up to your skate, up to your car, whatever it is. Going back to the kitchen, you have to sit there like 10, 15 minutes. The McDonald's comes through, the burger's already ready. You just drive through, pick it up. They added way more value by saving people all that time. The other way to make more money is to be the first one in the business to do something, because then you capture the market share and then you strategically are the first mover. That's the two biggest ways I'd see people make more money, just by moving earlier or finding a way to do something better. Pretty much the universal law of how to make more money than anybody in business. If you're doing both at the same time, then that's just really what we call innovation at a whole, and massively driving success. But you need to be when AI is literally daily developing new models. AI is generating, different companies are developing Claude updates or Google Gemini updates or ChatGPT updates. There's new Google VO videos that look like human-like videos now. If you were one of the first people to use Google VO, let's say, where you have these like AI generated videos, then you start posting on Instagram. Well, of course they're going to blow up faster than anybody else's, because people haven't seen that before. So that's going to like bring them in. It's going to capture attention. And so imagine if you're in a space where everybody's talking about this, where you get it like the hour it drops, like there's a community of people talking about these things. That is the vision that we're working on with Ascend, to have that space and to have you be a welcome member in there. Even if you guys just tune into the podcast here multiple times a week, we're going to be talking about this stuff. And for example, like we already mentioned, Anthony and I are building an app right now, for instance, that AI is pretty much doing all the coding. So like you don't need to hire a development team. We can use AI to build the website for us, to build all the software functionality and things like that. And that was something that was never possible before. You have this idea for like, I wish there was an app that could do this, and you can actually go out and build it now, not even needing to learn a line of programming. And so just having the knowledge of this stuff out there is going to be able to minimize the cost of entry, first of all, for like way more expensive projects, right? Software development would cost tens or thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars, but also you can do it faster than anybody else. So you can have more innovative technology too. That was such a rant, but it's very important to understand why you have to be in a space of learning about this stuff. Because that's what keeps you a step ahead in a world where every day you have to be a step ahead.
Yeah, I'll make a note on that too. It's not even just like literally I have a notepad here of like AI tools that I find out about just as Caleb and I work day to day, for me to go check out at a later time. But it's not just about even doing the research and knowing what tools are available, but it's the fact that I am in this space and the fact that I have Caleb and I have community members to bounce ideas off of also teaches me how to use the AI. Because everybody always says the cliche now, because I feel like it's become so cliche because people say it, that, you know, AI is only as strong as the person prompting it, or however they want to word it. Like its capability is limited by how well the prompter does the job of prompting. So that it's extremely helpful to have a community of people in the same space for that reason as well. Because you could know about Zapier and how to automate flows, but do you know how to make a program in Zapier? Do you know how to make a flow? You know what I mean? Do you know what little tips and tricks there, here and there make your work you're doing even more even faster once you're in the app? So I just wanted to add that piece too. It's also about how you can use them that things like the Ascend community exist for.
Yeah, this is a great. It's just you have to understand the importance of learning, and it's the hardest thing you can do. I think I saw a video the other day. There was like this like assassin. This guy that had this assassination attempt on like a political figure. And the political figure that he was going to assassinate, I'm pretty sure was Adolf Hitler. And the guy, this was before like Hitler got to where he was at, and the guy was saying, you know, there's things that you can notice, trends about people, things that lead to violence, but trying to explain your point. This is what he said in the cell. Trying to explain your point is so difficult when people are just dumb, when people can't learn, when people can't listen. You might have the perfect cure, the perfect solution, the perfect view of the world that's actually correct. But in a world where it's encouraged to be dumb, encouraged to scroll, to waste your time, to not actually care about learning, then it makes the people that are actually paying attention to what's happening seem like they're insane. And I think that happens so much now. It's like, why do you're paying way too much attention to this issue? You're overthinking the way the world works, which is kind of what happens a lot in this podcast. But in reality, it's more of just this used to be the standard. People used to question things a lot. And now it's so easy for you to just accept the first thing you see online and not second guess anything. You don't even like read the comments a lot of times and figure out if people are actually agreeing with it. You'll just say, oh, that must be accurate. And I'll go on to the next video. And when somebody challenges that worldview, and let alone like the algorithm on Instagram or Facebook or whatever it is going to keep you stuck in that same pattern of thought once you get in it. It's so hard to get out of, and that's polarizing people. So when you aren't in a space where you're constantly challenging your mind with new information, not only is that going to weaken your brain synapses and make you dumber, like quite literally dumber, but you're going to lose the opportunity to meet people that are exploring new ideas, which lead to new technologies, right? Like AI, new opportunities to make money, new business models, new partners, right? Better friends than probably the friend groups you're in right now. And you're just going to spiral kind of the opposite way from where you want to be. I've seen that happen with too many people. They say, well, I'll just play video games this weekend. And then their other friends go work on like a business idea. And I noticed that at the academy too, like a lot of my friends from the academy, like they're pretty much all at businesses. A lot of them are working on like their own side hustles and things like that. But people from my high school, way back at my high school, kind of this rural city, are not doing that stuff. They're kind of just passively scrolling in their free time. They're just going to their job and back home. So literally that group of people that you surround yourself with, it's very critical to your success.
Yeah.
I can't make that point any more without like beating a dead horse. So I'm going to try not to, but like, again, it's the same thing. I go insane sometimes because some people just don't understand the importance. And I don't want you guys to get burned by it, which is why I enforce it so much. It's up to you at the end of the day to grab onto my hand and come to the other side.
That's well said. I don't have much to add to that point.
It's like, that's the same with everything too. It's fitness, right? You're a fitness coach, Anthony. It's like, you can't make somebody work out. They have to want to work out. You can give them the perfect training plan. And I'm sure a lot of people would pay you for a training plan. So they get the piece of paper. They're like, this is the plan. I'm going to stick to it. 2 days go by. They're really consistent. And then they just take a day off. And then 2 days off. And then maybe they'll go back to the gym for a day. They'll be like, oh, yeah, I just slipped up. And they'll take a day off after that. And it'll just fall off because they didn't care about their ability to get better. And that translates not only from fitness, but to your business, right? It translates to your learning, to your friend groups, to constantly be upgrading that stuff. You have to build a habit of discipline. And if that's the whole reason you need people that are disciplined around you, can just listen to this podcast. I say Anthony and I are pretty damn disciplined, but we're doing this podcast. We're on episode 11 now. we're working pretty much every day on something productive.
Yeah.
If you guys just, we will talk, we will come hang out with you in our free community. You can just join our WAP community right now, and we'll talk to you. But just be around us, guys. Be around other people. It's when you go either get stuck in bad behaviors or you just don't interact with anybody that both lead to negative trends because you're not discovering things. You just get stuck in your feedback loops.
Yeah, I'll add something to that that's kind of a personal anecdote. You said that it takes a lot of self-discipline to ensure that you're maintaining the habits you know are better for yourself, and that you're, if you're somebody who has a plan set in front of you, but you struggle to stay consistent following it, you're not going to achieve the end goal. I would also argue that I think a lot of you, and I'm only arguing this because this has been myself up to this point, honestly, pretty recently, you also need to have like a vote of self-confidence in yourself to know that there's so many people like in the world today that make money doing things and they're worse at it than you could be if you just applied yourself. But the difference is they had the self-confidence to say, if I just continue at this with as much effort as I can put into it and I don't quit, I'm confident that I will see results, whether that's monetary, you become better at something, whatever it is your end goal is. So I would also argue that on top of the self-discipline thing, like you need to find a way to flip this switch in your mind that's responsible for the voice that tells you, I could drop a little bit of money and invest in myself in this business I'm starting. But and subconsciously, you probably don't even think about it, but subconsciously you click no, or you don't do it because subconsciously you're like, it might not work out anyway. And that's been my problem, as of, like I said, pretty recent, where it's like, I'm not willing to buy things to make my studio better, or I'm not willing to invest in the software service to make my coaching smoother.
So there's a self-doubt.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. As soon as you get over that hump though, and you realize that literally, and this is so cliche too, but it means something different when you actually believe it, but that whatever it is you want and you envision for yourself as an end goal is entirely possible, dependent upon your actions and your belief in yourself. I'm just sharing that, like I said, probably twice already, because that's been my personal experience too. Is I'm a disciplined guy, but for a long time, I just never had the confidence in myself that, that whatever I said I wanted to have happen could actually happen. Because to a lot of people, it seems so far-fetched. And really the only other time in my life where I had a full vote of confidence in myself was when I was going to get into the academy. Didn't apply anywhere else. I think I applied to like my local, community college, just because counselors were like, oh, you should have a backup plan. But I was like, no, I'm going to go to the academy. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I skipped out on parties. I skipped out on school dances because I wanted to study to take the tests I needed to get in. I wanted to work out so I was fit enough to do well on the fitness test because I wasn't getting recruited for a sport. And I made it. So it's the same for anything you're trying to achieve in life. It's like, if you want to be, for me, like I want to be a fitness coach. What does that take? It takes consistent content posting. It takes outreach. It takes you being a fit guy yourself. So I'm going to go and do those things until I make it. And it's as simple as that. And it could be as simple as that for you as well.
And then obviously spending money is never bad, especially if it's on something that's going to make you more productive. I never did realize, like I always thought investing money on your personal self, like on my knowledge and buying courses, buying ways to get smarter, buying books, I really just hated that because I was like, well, it's very clear on just giving money away. Like this will not lead immediately to more money. So there's other things that could potentially lead to immediate money that are probably more. I was like, well, I could invest in that down the road, right? But most people, I never understood that. Like, you actually have to have education. You can't just go out and like use your money to invest in more money unless you're going to stock trade. And I wouldn't recommend doing that if you're just going to start from scratch as your first side hustle, especially when the markets can be manipulated and things like that. Trust me, I've done that. But you have to have knowledge first. There's no way around it. Even if it's just going on Shopify and starting an e-commerce store, Shopify is still going to teach you how to use their website. You still have to learn how to use Shopify. And so either you learn it directly from Shopify, which takes time, and it's probably not the most advanced education you're going to get, meaning your website's going to suck compared to people that had the course on it, or you're just going to have to figure it out, which is going to take time. And therefore, you're not going to get rich at 19. You have to invest the little money you have into something that's going to give you more knowledge. And then that'll make you aware of ways to save time and money. Because actually, like, that's a way better option. If Anthony and I said we were going to go build a software, build an app, and we started with like what we thought we knew was the best way, which is finding a developer, figuring out how much it was going to cost. Oh, it's $15,000 to build the minimum viable product. Instead of like learning about ways that AI could help us develop apps and to build, products like that and to build software, we would have spent 10, 15 times the amount of money building it out, because in the long run too, because you just didn't have access to the knowledge, right? You're saying, well, I wish I could make money. Well, you have to save money so that you have something to put into the business, and you're going to save it from learning how to do it, and you're also going to minimize that time too. That was a big thing I would say with real estate. Like I was in that case wholesaling, so I was buying houses. It was the opposite, right? I was convincing people to buy it or sell their house to me instead of to buy something from me, which I guess is kind of like buying because they're purchasing. I'm buying the house at a discount, so they're paying for that difference of what they would get on. But I said I can move your house a lot faster, so they're paying for an expedited service. If you're willing, if you want to get out of the house now, if you want this situation dealt with. So I had to figure out how to allow them to save time and to structure that as a primary selling point, which to most of them, they agreed. I don't want this problem to drag out for 2 years. That's not worth my time. I'd rather pay $5,000 and have it done now. And when I structured it like that, any common sense person could see the connection I'm making, which is kind of why I'm wording it this way to you too. You have to automate, and you can't just rely on yourself Googling everything. That's going to take too long. Unless you're like 12 years old starting this. If you are, then congrats. But you're not going to get there very quickly. It's going to take you probably 10 years if you don't have a community of people. So you have to reps or automation, and AI is the perfect opportunity now to get that information and to learn if you're willing to use it that way.
Yeah, I agree. And a plug to our community aside, like we're Caleb and I are the whole point of like our personality on this podcast is, I'll let you know a little insight, is like we're actually just trying to talk about things we know to be true. Like this is not, I don't have a script we read off. Caleb has like points, but it's not like we just read things and like try and get you to join our community because we want to make some money off of it. Like there's so much that goes on beyond the scenes right now. And I've shown my studio setup here in the past just as like to prove a point, but it's like we're being so serious. Like you don't even have to plug into our community in particular. Obviously we advertise that because we're fully capable in the syndicate's ability to get you to the point you want to be, but join our community, join it, you want to join. I'm just like, I just want to bring the point up that this is real talk. This is not just a let me sell you on our community thing, but you would save. I make this point all the time in my fitness coaching. In one of my most recent posts, actually, I was like, the whole reason and point behind me doing it is to try and save some people that are interested in starting 7 years of experience in which because that's what it took me to get to the point where I'm at today. If they could just learn from me in 1 year, not even that. I mean, if that's in literally a few months, what I have accumulated in knowledge over the past few years, then it would be absolutely worth it to that person to start at a level in which they have, by product of working with me, 7 years of experience. So translated to what we're talking about in the space of AI, it's the same concept. Do your research, watch the videos, invest in yourself, invest time. And I'm not just talking money, like invest time. Seriously, I laughed my butt off at a meme the other day that was like entrepreneur bros like slice like fitting time to work on their business in, and it was like the meme of like Goofy, Donald, and Mickey like slicing a piece of bread that was like paper thin, and it's like, you know, entrepreneur bros cutting time out of their busy schedule to work on their business. It's about time too, and you know, you got to be patient with it because it doesn't just happen overnight.
It doesn't. Go into any business. You guys can go on the ascendagency.io website and you can sign up. It's going to drop August 1st. I guess there's the plug, but it's going to be pretty awesome. AI is going to be able to run multiple parts of your business. So you do get all the time back. And we also teach you how to do it and how to run the business. And we give you an AI mentor that helps you too. That's trained from our knowledge and things like that. So you have all the tools in one spot. It's actually free for right now until we'll just split, like we take a very, very small percentage of your revenue, and that's how the platform makes money. But basically, like you can just get access to this stuff. You don't have to pay like the subscription for ChatGPT and stuff like you would do. But that's our competitive edge out there. We're just giving you the free value. And we hope that you guys see that. And the biggest thing is having realistic expectations. Like Anthony just said, when you go in saying, you know, I've talked to people coaching too, and I've had some interviews now, like with people, and I could tell very quickly it wasn't going to work out because they'd say, I'm like, where are you right now? Like, well, I have one client, right? They're paying me like $200 a month. I'm like, okay, that's great. What's your goal in 3 months? And they'll be like, I want to do like probably 20 to 30K a month. Like from $200 a month right now, you want to hit 20 to 30K. How much are you posting? They'll be like, well, once a week, maybe. Okay. So you have no traffic coming in. You have 20, 30,000 bucks you could spend on ads, a few ad campaigns to just drive traffic in, because then we could probably get there. Because we need people to see your offer. How are they seeing it right now? Are you giving them any sort of visual of what you're doing? Are you posting anything to show them that? No. Where's the inbound leads going to come from? Where's the views and the money going to come from other people? How are they going to find out what you have? There's like, I can't solve that problem unless you either save money and put more work in, or you put money in and do less work, or ideally a little bit of each. But it's like you have to be realistic about your expectations. AI can do all this work for you, but if you still don't know how to run a damn business, you're not going to make it because you don't understand how to solve problems. When a client says, "Can you do you have any other payment options?" and you don't think, "Oh, I can do a payment plan on this," versus just, "Oh, we can't afford this $600." You never worked out a payment agreement before. Then to you, it's just, "Oh, that doesn't exist. It's not going to work out." You lose opportunity because you can't talk to other people who have figured these situations out. And so, as much as AI can do, you still need human beings that speak English, can talk to you, and have solved these problems. That AI can't just adaptively work with you. And also, it's the experience too. That's why Anthony can still make a bunch of money as a fitness coach, because AI could probably make an amazing workout plan. But it hasn't tried it. Doesn't know the human fatigue. It doesn't know the human mental aspect of like being in the gym, working on it, and understanding, okay, these Bulgarian split squats are going to kick my ass. The AI doesn't know that, but Anthony's going to say these are going to be some rough exercises on your legs, so be ready for it. And that human like knowledge that translates is what makes the AI program or whatever you're going to sell with AI so much more valuable. So need a little bit of both. Be realistic, and that's kind of my final like rant for the day. I think it's a good, at least on my end, a position to end it. But I don't know if that inspired any thoughts to wrap up from you. You said, I think.
No, I think you said it well, man. It's just final hammer. You need to be in a space where people are bouncing idea. And I don't know. Like, I just wish you guys could experience what it's like to work with Caleb sometimes, honestly, where it's like, well, I'll feel like we're in a rut kind of in the work that we're doing or the work that I'm doing. And then I'll get a text from him and be like, yo, check this thing I just found out. And I'm just mind blown. And all of a sudden I'm re-inspired to be like, oh, you know what? Maybe I could apply this that we've been doing. Maybe I could apply this new thing. Maybe I could, make it work and function with this. And the list goes on, but it's been invaluable, absolutely, to be, first of all, in the space, but with a colleague as knowledgeable and passionate about it as Caleb. And that's just kind of a glimpse as to what you get, glimpse into it, what you get as a member of the Ascent platform, for sure.
I think again, I'm not that smart, guys. I'm not the smartest person out there. There's people that are spending hours a day exploring this stuff, and there could be 100 of me in one chat. If I could add that much value for Anthony, I appreciate the compliment. Imagine 200 people that are constantly like doing the same type of stuff I'm doing. Imagine how much quicker you're going to be like, oh, 3 other people have also used this tool that came out yesterday, and they already know the best way to use it for their business. That'll make you 10 times the money as the other people, let alone the people that don't even touch AI still and are afraid of AI, even though it's kind of inevitably going to stay around. You want people to give you a competitive advantage, especially if it's free. It's free. It is free. What are you doing with your time if you're not joining this? And so at the end of the day, right, it's like you can complain as much as you want, but if you're not taking advantage of something that's literally being handed to you, there's nothing else I can do. I can't help you guys. I can't help all of you. And it's just, nobody can, right? It's like if somebody gave you the magic solution, it's not really my fault if you continue to live in the existence state that you are. I want to help you. I'm making this as easy as possible, but I'm not begging. The tools are here. The window is kind of now on it, and we're just giving you the keys to come in. Again, Ascend officially launches its website and services on August 1st. Anthony and I are working on something pretty cool too. We'll bring it up on a future episode. But for now, guys, just get involved. Like this podcast, whatever platform it's on here, and we'll probably see you guys back next week around this time. I hope you guys like Mondays too. Might have to switch that up.
Yeah, I don't know. It works best for our schedule for now, but go make something of the week. Don't just let another week pass. By the way, if you haven't done anything, you've officially wasted 6 months of 2025. So if you haven't thought about that up to this point, it's we're past the 6-month mark. So if you haven't, make this the turnaround point instead of just hoping your turnaround point happens upon you. Start today. Make something of the week. Build something.
All right. Subscribe, share. Again, stay average. The choice is yours, guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.